Welcome, everyone. I'm the Undertaker's daughter, and I'd like to tell you a story. It's Election Day in Hominy, Oklahoma, November the 3rd of 1908, and Elmer Fraley has come to town. Now, Elmer was the son of M.F. Fraley, the M.F. standing for Millard Fillmore. M.F. and his family had moved from Savannah, Tennessee, where they were well-known business people, to the town of Hominy several years before, and they had set up shop and continued to build their reputation. But Elmer was known for being a bit reckless and having a temper, and on this day he was evidently looking for a fight. He found it in Dan Parker. Parker was in his early 30s, a peaceable individual by all accounts, a gentleman who bought walnut logs for a local lumber company. But on this day, evidently, he and Elmer got into it, and that argument turned into a duel. They met on the streets of Hominy, and Elmer, having the faster draw, got his shot off first. Unfortunately for Elmer, he wasn't very accurate. He hit Dan in either the leg or the foot, depending upon which version of the retelling you believe. Dan may have been slower, but he was deadly in his aim. His bullet struck Elmer about an inch above his heart. Within 20 minutes, Elmer was dead, and Parker was under arrest. He would be acquitted later on of the murder. Fast forward 1 year and 6 days. It is now November the 9th of 1909. We're still in Hominy, Oklahoma. Dan Parker's trial is taking place, and Wesley Fraley has come to town for the hearing. Now, Wesley had several of his friends with him. It's about 8:30 in the evening, and they all decide they're going to stop into a store operated by Charlie Wood. Now, Wood had been their father's business partner back in Tennessee. And when they all moved to Hominy, Oklahoma, Wood and Fraley actually moved in next door to each other. But that business partnership didn't last. Fraley believed that Wood had cheated him, had stolen from him. Wood said that Fraley had broken their contract. And on this evening, Wesley was determined he was going to drag that feud out of the past and into the present. When his friends could see what was going to happen, they left the store. They didn't want any part of it. They had not even gotten across the street when they heard the shots. They turned around, saw Wood come out of his store, locked the door behind him, told them what he had done, and then he called the sheriff and offered to turn himself in. Wesley was killed instantly, and Wood was placed under arrest. He would later be acquitted of his crime based on a plea of self-defense. There were several witnesses who, over the course of weeks, had heard Fraley threaten Wood, and because of that, he got off. Now let's fast forward into April of the next year, 1910, but we're not in Hominy anymore. Now we're in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, and M.F. Fraley has gone there to conduct his business for the day. He is then going to stay in the hotel, go back to Hominy the following morning. But who should he see on the streets of Pawhuska but Dan Parker, the man who killed his son? He walks up behind Parker, lays a hand on his shoulder and says, "Hello, Dan." Parker turns, only to be met by the barrel of a revolver shoved into his gut. Fraley pulls the trigger 3 times. Parker falls. Fraley shoots him 2 or 3 more times and then flees to his hotel room. Within an hour, Parker's dead and Fraley's under arrest. The citizens of Pawhuska had taken it into their minds that they really needed to see that justice was done on their own rather than waiting, because Dan Parker was a popular young man. And there was a lynch mob that was beginning to form. But then they learned that Fraley was beginning to suffer from mental anguish, I guess you would call it. When he was arrested, he looked at the sheriff and said, "I didn't want to shoot him, but he shot my boy, and I'll never get over it." And the longer he sat in the jail cell, the further into madness he descended, until the blackness of his grief and his guilt overwhelmed his mind and his soul, and the sheriff declared him to be a madman. He was found not guilty of Parker's murder based on a plea of insanity. Elmer was brought back to Ledbetter Cemetery in Hardin County for burial. Wesley was placed beside him. When M.F. died in 1934, he was buried here. His wife was buried beside them in 1942. What had started out as a family legacy built on integrity and hard work and honesty became one of violence that resulted in tragedy.